joining me. My name is Paula, also known as The Snail Garden on social media. I will put links in the description box below on YouTube where you can find me. This is my September vlog where we take a quick look at the garden and I take you on some of the evening walks we've been doing and days out, which have included a couple of workshops this month. So I'll show you the videos first and then I will come back and talk to you about some of the projects I've been working on, and there have been quite a few this month. Welcome back. I have a couple of completed items to show you and some works in progress and a couple of planned projects. Starting with this pattern. I mentioned it in my last vlog that I was going to be sewing this for my holiday next month. I actually went for the longer version because I just had enough material to fit the longer one in rather than the shorter one. And as you can see, I actually managed to complete it on time. It was touch and go for a moment because this band should have been quite simple, but for some reason I made it quite difficult. But I think that was down to me, not the pattern. And it's in a very drapey, lightweight cotton. The interfacing is a lightweight interfacing, but I think in future, if I made another one, I would make it in an ultralight interfacing. And the only alteration I have done to this pattern is just to make the sleeves slightly longer because I need to have my arms covered when I'm going on holiday. I don't think I've said, but we're going to Jordan for a holiday and the dressing is slightly more conservative over there, so to be respectful of their culture, I've made longer sleeves. And it's nice and light, so hopefully it won't be too hot. My second item is the September Snowflower Diaries design. And this month it was this beautiful autumnal scene, which is very appropriate with its bats and its owls because we have the tawny owl living in the trees behind us and lots of bats we see flying in the evenings. This is a monthly project that I am working on, and they're going to be turned into lavender sachets with some of my own homegrown lavender. As you will have seen, I attended a couple of workshops this month. The first was at Plor Hatch Farm, a biodynamic farm where they produce their own wool. And it was a natural dyeing workshop with Deborah of Field Folk. And we had a lovely day foraging on the farm and heading to an open barn where we did a lot of this dyeing. First we used two mordants, alum and oxalic acid from rhubarb leaves, and then we had some separate dye baths. These two were in the blackberries with a little bit of elderberry. This one is paler because I left it in for a shorter amount of time, and this one was in for longer and it took up more of the colour. These two were in a dock dye bath. This beautiful yellow was in tansy. And these four are all madder. These two were put into the dye bath to start with, when there was the most pigment. And these were put in later, once some of the pigment had already been soaked up by everybody else's yarns. So this is the exhaust bath. So we have 4 different colours from one dye bath. I have also been doing some dyeing at home throughout the summer. And as you can see, I have this beautiful range of colours. I have what I called mordanted, but apparently is not correct, as I have learnt. But I had thought I had mordanted these with soya milk, but apparently that is not actually a mordant. It is a different form of attaching the colour to the yarn. And these ones are with the dead buddleia leaves. Hopefully the colour is showing up well because it's quite sunny at the moment. I think that shows them up correctly like that. These ones are from the reed flowers, and I have dipped it into an iron modifier so that part of it is darker. This is from my rose prunings. This is lovely buff colour. These two are from acorns, and we were able to bring home some of the madder root from the workshop day, and so these have been dyed in the madder. I have also at the same time been dyeing some cotton. As you can see, you get a beautiful range of colours. This one is from the rose. These two are from the buddleia leaves. But this one I had originally dyed with some bark and bundled some different leaves in it, so I've come up with two different colours. This one, which is two different tones, is from the reed flowers, and this is the main colour, which I have then just slightly brightened with some vinegar, and this side is where I have dipped it in some iron water. This beautiful rich colour is from the acorns, and these three are from the madder. The paler one is because it's been put in for a short time. The slightly darker one is for a medium amount of time. And this one originally was dyed in a bundle with some bark, and then I have tie-dyed it almost with string and over-dyed it with the madder to get these lovely flower patterns. The second workshop I attended was at Dalesford Farm at the Harvest Festival, and there was the country brocante, and I'm a fan, as you'll have known if you've seen any previous videos, of Zoob, and she was doing a workshop of her mini kit of autumn flowers. And so far I've done probably about half of the flowers and used silk paints for the vase. That's the first time I've actually used the paints, so it was very interesting to learn how she did this, because I have some of her other kits that use the silk paints, and there's a few more flowers to go over top of these ones. It's such an inspiring and informative workshop that I've learnt a lot. Even though I already can do embroidery, you learn so much more when you attend one of these workshops. Okay, and there's more. Knitting. I am still knitting my Maratimo by Boyland Knitworks, and I'm knitting this as part of my friend Nicola's knit along, Nicola of Bumble Stitches podcast. I'm knitting it in Crush by the Skein Queen in the colourway Dream Cloud. I haven't made a lot of progress on this one because I've been distracted by something else. but I have just divided for the armholes. So hopefully it won't take me too much longer. I've been distracted by this design. This is something I've been thinking about knitting for a while, a Penguono by Stephen West Knits. And I'm knitting mine in 4-ply and a mohair yarn. And I'm knitting them in the various pinks from my stash. These ones are from 5 Moons, and I believe it's called Sugar Plum. These 4 are Life in the Long Grass, Summer Fate, Afterglow, Pink and Daybreak. This one is a homespun house, Mermaid of the Black Lake. This is an Elm Tree Yarns Flower Fairy yarn, and that is Hawthorn. And this one is a rather special yarn. Oops. This one is by Cauldron of Colours, and it was a gift from my friend Deb, who had it dyed up to match a photograph I had taken when we were in Melmaby on the country house retreat. I took this photograph one morning of the sunrise, and Deb had this colourway made up. And the mohair is Nougat by West Green Loft Yarns. This might be a little difficult to show you because it is full of ends. I'm going to have a lot of ends to sew in. But this is the back, which is all seed stitch. And this is the Mermaid of the Black Lake with the pink and the mohair. Now I've changed the pattern slightly because there are meant to be welts down each side. But because mine is knitting up slightly smaller because I'm only using 2 strands of the fingering weight, the welts were going to end up not being quite in the right place. I felt that they would have been too high up over the back and uncomfortable. So I have knitted some lateral braids. Well, they are lateral when you knit them. They're this way around, but obviously they're going to end up being that way. And these are the lateral braids that Elizabeth Doherty of Blue Bee Studios showed us how to knit when we were on the country house retreat. So I was paying attention. I remembered how to do that. And this is the yarn that Deb had dyed up for me, that I've held double there. And these braids give it some structure, which I think the welts would have done. At the side I have Life in the Long Grass and the 5 Moons colourway. These colours are warmer than the cool pink, but it's supposed to be quite an outrageous garment, I think, so I've mixed the colours, which I probably wouldn't do normally. And I've just started to knit up the front. I've attached it together so perhaps you can get a... I'm doing each side equally so that I remember what colours I've used. So I've been enjoying knitting that. And I have a final project to show you using these yarns that I bought in Iceland quite a few years ago. I think it's 2014. And Sandra of Cherry Heart has brought out a crocheted blanket, and it's to be used with a yarn kit or to use with your own yarn, so I'm knitting from stash. and it's called the Nature's Walk Cowl. And there was a test square to see whether your yarn's suitable, and this is nice and drapey on a 3.5mm hook. And I've actually fully soaked and blocked this to see how it would turn out, so I'm happy with that. And this was actually the test pattern, but I will probably add this to my finished blanket. And this week the first design came out. This hasn't been blocked, but you knit either 4 or 8 of the same design each week, depending on whether you bought the yarn kit or whether you're using stash yarn. I'm probably going to do 4 each week to start with, because I don't know how much yarn I will have, whether I'll have enough for the whole blanket or whether I'll have some more. So as you can see, I have been quite busy this month. I've made a couple of purchases. When Tracy of Nora George Yarns brought out this colourway in 1906, based on the hydrangeas in her garden, I couldn't resist getting a couple of skeins of that. This is beautiful, and I love hydrangeas. I'm not sure what I'm doing with that yet, but... And on Instagram, there's a lady, Deborah, DSG 1964, who goes to France, to Brocante, and purchases needlework items. And she posted this linen apron. Oops. Which I immediately thought would make a lovely canvas as an apron to be worn, where I can do lots of needlework, similar to the Janet Clare artisan apron that I made a few years ago. I'll probably show that to you next time, and any progress I may have made on this. So basically it's going to just be lots of little patches of needlework as and when I feel like it and what I'm inspired by. I think quite possibly the first item will be a pocket, because it hasn't got a pocket, and everything needs a pocket. And finally, for today, there is a project that I've been thinking of making for quite a while. It keeps popping up on my Instagram feed, and I had heard that you can buy this book in the works quite cheaply. And when we were shopping in Winchester last week, I just popped in, and there she was, Luna Lapin. She's normally about £16, but the works has got her in at the moment for £5, so that's quite a bargain. And I've been quite taken with her in her little blue jacket for some time. And I was on a workshop earlier this year, and a lady was actually knitting her a little jumper as well, which was so sweet, and I thought, yes, I'm going to have to make one. And again, that is a future project, so she won't be made too soon, but I'm going to the Knitting and Stitching show towards the end of October, and I believe the lady who makes her is actually going to be there. So I might be getting some supplies when I go to London at the end of October. Before then, I'm actually going away for a short holiday to Jordan, because I've always wanted to visit Petra, so I'm really looking forward to that. So I will be closing my shop, Either Faith, on Etsy for a short time, probably just for a couple of weeks. And then when I reopen, I hope to have some Christmas goodies in the shop. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I plan to have 2 vlogs out in October, because I will put up a travel vlog of our time in Jordan, and then again I'll put back at the end of the month with the usual vlog. So I hope to see you at the end of the month again. Bye.